everyone, welcome to Strip Club. My name is Daniela, and today I'd like to present to you our latest strip club pattern that we have named Olympia. Do you like it?
Yes.
It uses, of course, 2.5-inch strips. Well, it starts with 2.5-inch strips. In addition to the 2.5-inch strips, you also need a light background and a medium background. And in this quilt, and an accent fabric. The light background is the cream background. The medium background is the yellow here, and then accent is the purple. And then we repeat the light background in border 1, the accent in border 2, and then this terrific print for the outer border. It's actually this outer border that helped us select all the fabrics that we used in the quilt. The best way to pick fabrics for any quilt is to pick a multicolored fabric that you like. It doesn't even have to be a fabric that you will use in the quilt. Just one that you like, and then you can start to pull the colors out of that fabric and match them and find the coordinating fabrics to go with it. So that's how we created all of these combinations. I'm not sure that we would have put some of these prints together if we didn't know that they all coordinated with that outer fabric. So we used this border fabric to pull it all together. So that's how we came up with the fabrics for these strips. And we kept these strips in our shop, but you can imagine this would look good in many of the pre-cut strip bundles already out there on the market. The roll-ups, the jelly rolls, the Valley Pops, the sushi rolls, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Isn't life wonderful with all these 2.5-inch strips on the market? Can we honestly say it may be the best invention since sliced bread? I mean, sliced fabric, sliced bread, right? Okay, this quilt, this pattern is available at your local quilt shop. And since we are your local quilt shop, you all have the pattern. And this quilt that we have hanging on the wall is the throw. The pattern also has directions for the baby, lap, twin, and king. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sizes in the pattern. I do that because I love you. I also do that because I know that I can write a pattern in one size and somebody is going to say, well, that's great. How do you make it bigger? Or how do you make it smaller? So it's easier to do the math all at once. So I've done the math all at once. It's all here written for you. Now if you tell me, Daniela, I notice you have a throw, a twin, and a king. How come you don't have a queen? I will say, I recommend maybe not putting borders on and making a queen size quilt. And the reason that we don't have a queen on here is because they're fairly large blocks with sashing. There is no nice way to have a queen quilt and not disrupt the pattern. So you see how there is that this is in the middle? If we did one more block row, it would look incomplete. It's stripped. So it's 2.5-inch strips. This is the block size that we make. It's a 12-inch block. And so there is no easy way to make a nice queen size quilt. So you can do smaller borders, or you can have a generous quilt on your queen size bed. My suggestion. Okay, it's very easy to piece together. The hardest part of all of this is cutting your strips and keeping them organized. Every strip will appear in a block once. So we have, in here we have 20 strips 2 times. That's how we get to our 40 strips. So 20 different fabrics, 2 strips each. So if you're looking, are you playing concentration now? You're trying to match up? Trying to see if there's fabric duplicates? You should only see it twice. You shouldn't see it more than twice. If you do see it more than twice, don't say anything because we're filming. I mean, you got to help me out. Okay, so you will also get, you also need 2 strips per block. 2 strips per block. So if you do want to make a different size than we have here, all you have to know is 2 strips per block. That's how many strips you need. Okay? So the instructions will tell you how to cut your strips, how to cut your light background, how to cut your medium background, and your accent fabrics. You keep them in sets, and then you assemble your blocks together. So really the assembly of the block is probably the hardest part, and not because it's technically difficult, it's just because you have to make sure you get the correct layout. Let me show you what the block looks like. Ta-da! That's it. It's one block. It also has sashing and cornerstones in here. So these two pieces will come together with the cornerstone to create the 9 patch, and then they will then go on the other side and create a little purple, a splash of purple in the front. To put it together, to assemble it, there's really basically 2 halves. These are the pieces, and you will assemble them in components. So you lay out your pieces, you'll sew these pieces together to make this component, these pieces to make that component, these 2 pieces to make that component. We'll sew those 2 together, add this piece to it, and then attach this piece there, and that becomes a half. You've already completed another half here by the magic of television, and you sew that half to this half, and there you have your block. Ta-da! That easy.
Wow.
Very nice, huh? So same block over, same block twisted and twisted, twisted and turned. Same block done over and over again, twisted and turned. Then we have sashing in between, and the sashing is the same as your light background. Your vertical sashing, your horizontal sashing, and then your accent in between as cornerstones. Sew them together by rows. Horizontal cornerstone sashing is row 2, and then again blocks and vertical sashing row 3, then horizontal and accent is row 4, all the way down, put your quilt top together. Now you'll also notice that this quilt has piecework in the borders. It gives it a little splash of interest. It looked like it needed a little bit more. So this piece here is just a cornerstone against white and white. This has purple as border 2, and the cornerstone happens to be the same fabric as border 3. So it looks like it goes across, jogs down, across, and then completes. So it looks very fluid, but it's very simply a cornerstone from another fabric. And then this cornerstone is actually pieced, the very last cornerstone for the borders. So a little piecework in the borders. You don't have to do it. I think there's enough fabric if you just want to get those borders on and get the quilt done, because sometimes that happens. All the piecework is done. I just have borders, and you want to slap those on and move on. You can do that too. But with a little extra time, piecework in the borders can be very interesting. So would you like to see what I have as backing, because this is quilted and bound? Are you impressed?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I just picked a nice gold fabric for the backing. I'm a strong believer in putting quality fabric on the back of quilts. You put so much into the front. It's actually the back that, snuggles up against you. And what quilt always lays right side up all the time? When that corner flips up, you want to have some nice fabric. So I'm a strong believer in quality fabric in the back. And then we repeated the accent fabric for the binding, just sort of for a double frame. It's good? Imagine it in other fabrics. Would it be lovely in other fabrics? Are you imagining it?
Could you show us?
Would you like to see one?
Yes.
I can arrange that. Longtime viewers of the show have seen that coming. May I have a volunteer? Thank you, volunteer. This is Kathy, everyone. Oh, we have another volunteer. Yay! That's so excellent. Isn't that fantastic? Now, I mentioned before that we cut our strips for the one up on the wall. This one used a roll-up. It was a Robert Kaufman roll-up. We've actually sold out of the roll-up. But we've cut more fabric. Yay! But what I'm hoping it's also a roll of 2.5-inch strips. It's like a jelly roll, but it has a different name. Jelly rolls are Moda, and roll-ups are Robert Kaufman. Lollipops are Hoffman. Jelly rolls now become the Band-Aid. It is a brand name, but everybody refers to them as jelly rolls. What I wanted to show you with this quilt is how great it would look in other fabrics. Now notice the difference between the light accent and the medium, or the light background and the medium background. There's not a lot of difference. So it sort of gives an effect like there's not another fabric there. It just has a very subtle difference with this leaf print in the circle or the squares. Isn't it terrific? Yeah. I also wanted to show you that you see a pattern, and you shouldn't get stuck on the colors that you see in the pattern. You might look at the quilt that's on the wall and think female, and then you might look at this quilt that's hanging, that we're holding up here, and think that's a more masculine quilt. But it's the same pattern. So imagine beyond the colors that we provide for you. Think bigger. Think beyond. This is the smaller size, which is the lap size, but I have to say it's a very large lap size. Wait.
And that one's bigger than the one.
It's a big lap. So that is Olympia. I named it Olympia because I think it looks like Olympic rings. I was inspired by Olympic rings, and it is the Olympics coming up, which I'm so excited about. So that's why it's named Olympia, just in case you were wondering. Oh, not done. Hold back up. In the meantime, any questions? No questions? It's that easy.
Thank you.
Well, if there's no questions, let me ask you another question before we break. Does anybody have strip club sharing that they wouldn't mind sharing with many people? Anybody want to step up and share? No sharing today, huh? No, it's a shy group. Okay, well then, I thank you all for coming, and come back again next time. We'll have another pattern that uses 2.5-inch strips.